You must register or you must suffer. You must register or you must suffer. That is what happens to many parents when they find out that they, for one reason or another, they've had to take their children out of school. It's there that they remember and that they understand that for the majority of us, our children belong to Caesar. From the moment they're born, you are required to register them as biological property, put them into the national system that is designed to keep track of them, and it will operate under the ancient system of pledging. You got to register them, or you must suffer not being able to work, or earn a living, or attain benefits without registering them. Whenever you register something, you are handing over title to the person you register with, and they, the government, assume it belongs to them. So whether it's a TV, whether it's a car, whether it's even an email address, or whether it's a child, they must be registered. When you notify on your baby, by signing the birth certificate, your child becomes a ward of the state. And if the government doesn't like what you're doing, they're going to assume it's okay to take your child away or make new rules for things that they don't like. What happens when you misbehave? Shouting at your child too much. What happens when the nosy neighbours, who do they call on? They call on Caesar. They will call Caesar, and Caesar's going to come and take your child. What happens when we send our children to Caesar's prisons? Well, we shouldn't be surprised when they come out as Romans. If you're a parent and your child is deemed as not having enough school, if your child is interrogated when you walk them through the door of the school gates and then they have a frown on their face, and then teachers will pull them aside and ask them what's wrong, and they coerce them into confessing or saying things potentially, Caesar is king. Smacking your child, disciplining them, shouting loudly, then it's the silent serpent to the rescue. SS. Social services will come. Yep, our children belong to Caesar. I digress, but anyway, that's a bit of a sidetrack. What are the three main questions that many of Caesar's followers, what are some of the three main questions that they're going to ask when you have the balls to take your children out of school? The three main questions that you get asked as a parent. Number one, is that legal? Number two, what about their socialization? And number three, probably, where do you get the curriculum from? Or isn't it too much of a burden? Is it legal? Can they socialize? And is it a bit of a burden? Well, and you've got to ask, why does everyone ask the exact same three questions? Well, it's because everyone is being discipled by the exact same master. Yep, that's Caesar. You either are against him or you're with him. Everyone follows him. Everyone's taught by him. Everyone's thrown their children into the fire and the furnace that belongs to him. School. It's questions like this that usually come from sheep. And they are sheep because they have forgotten that they are free men. We ask that question because we believe that children are property of the state. Exactly what they tell us, and exactly indirectly what we believe when we sign them away with that birth certificate. We ask that question because we have been discipled by the system which says it owns us. It owns us and our children. And that's why they ask the next question: how can you educate your own children? Isn't that burdensome? Why? Why on earth would you do that? Why? Because the system wants you to be a slave and a follower. What circumscribes the circumference of your thinking is going to control the diameter of your thinking, and that's exactly what Caesar's doing. I mean, after going through primary school, secondary school, college, and university, I have to humble myself and say that the state has definitely done a good job in pounding it into my head that the state is the educator. And even when you want to take your children out of school, you have to ask permission from the state before you can do so. Especially if they're special needs. Okay, fine. If they're in the mainstream, you could just send a letter of intent as opposed to a letter of demand or ask. How is the state exercising its jurisdiction over your child that you and the state share? That is what people who throw their kids to Caesar, it's what parents who do that with their kids, they will never understand the parents that take their kids out of that. How dare you? How dare you convict me and go against the grain by doing something that is just, quite simply put, outlandish.